Hey RVers, welcome back to the channel. A couple weeks ago, I encountered another equipment failure when preparing to head out for a weekend camping trip. Now, for those of you that are keeping track, we had the surge protector go, we had our refrigerator in the RV go, and this time around it was the water pressure regulator. And honestly, I did not see this one coming. So here's what happened. I was going through the process of doing an equipment check right before the trip, the morning of the trip, just making sure everything was packed, ready, and easy to find when we got to the site. I'd like to give our water hose a good rinse on the morning that we're heading out just to make sure it's clear, there's nothing gunky up in there, no critters crawling around in it. So when I was going through our water hose bag, I pulled out the regulator. I kind of just glanced at it, but I noticed something. The gauge was stuck on 140 PSI. Now, maybe it was just the gauge that was broken and maybe the regulator was fine, but without a working gauge, you have no way of monitoring that pressure, and I just am never going to be willing to take that kind of a risk. So I had to call Dan again to rescue me. And had him pick up a replacement on his way home from work before we headed out. Look, I know some people don't even use a regulator at all, and everyone RVs differently. We all have our things we do and things we don't do, but I am just going to say it. If you are not using a water pressure regulator, you are taking a huge risk. High water pressure can easily burst the plumbing lines in your RV and cost thousands of dollars in damage. So that tiny little device is one of the cheapest forms of insurance that you can carry. And just as a side note, for those that are not aware, once hooked up to your water at the campsite, you should ideally see a 40 to 55 PSI reading. If it's not within that range, you're going to want to tweak the adjustment on your regulator and get it within that safe zone. Now, the regulator I had was from RVGuard. It was a good quality unit, well rated on Amazon, but obviously something went wrong. Thankfully, it was still under warranty. I think it had an 18-month warranty on it. So I reached out to the company and they were awesome. They were just fantastic. Great customer service. Thanked me for reaching out and letting them make it right. The replacement was shipped quickly. I cannot say enough positive things about how they treat their customers. They also offered a couple of insights into what might have caused the failure, and I wanted to share those with you guys. The first cause they named was freezing. They said sometimes residual water inside the gauge can freeze and damage it. Now, it's summer here, so that definitely wasn't the case. It's been a very hot summer. There has been no snow this summer, so I knew it wasn't freezing. But still, it's a great reminder that when you're winterizing, make sure the regulator is fully drained and stored in a warm place. The second cause they named, and this one kind of took me by surprise. It never really occurred to me, but the water hammer effect. And that's what happens when you open or close a water valve too quickly. It creates a pressure spike. They recommended just opening and closing valves gradually to prevent shock damage to the water pressure regulator. Honestly, neither one of us recalls opening and closing valves quickly. Now, when you're at these sites, typically you got to put like a tiny bit of muscle into like turning the water on and off. I don't ever recall one being so easy that you could just quickly turn it on and quickly shut it off. So I am not even convinced that that is what happened, but I did want to share that just so that you're aware whenever you're turning water on and off at the connection at your campsite. Since we were heading out the same day that I discovered the issue, I didn't have time to wait for the replacement to arrive, obviously. So that's why I called Dan. He went to Walmart and he grabbed what looked to be an identical version, but this one is made by Camco. And I wanted to show you how identical these are. I mean, they look like the same darn thing. So this is the one that failed, RVGuard. This is the Camco version. And I guess the fittings are a little different, but basically the same water pressure regulator. And there are literally dozens of manufacturers that are selling these through Amazon under different names. They're probably all made by the same person. But anyhow, that's what we ended up with, the Camco version of the same thing. So we will keep the RVGuard replacement water pressure regulator as a backup, just in case we ever run into another issue. So we'll have that spare. But also if we're at a campsite and the neighbor has something going wrong with theirs, they can just borrow the extra one we have. So yes, one small part could lead to a big problem if you don't have it. I'm just glad that we caught this before we hit the road and we were protected the entire time we were camping. If you've had issues like this crop up, or if you have a favorite regulator that you trust, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. Don't forget to like this video if it helped you out, subscribe for more RV tips, and as always, safe travels, and I will see you in the next video.